This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here up at the Brickworks in Toronto with Chef Brad Long from Cafe Belong. How are you, Brad?
Not too bad. Thanks, Jamie.
Now, we are here to speak about one of your favorite times of year. It may not look like spring right now, but we're apparently in the thick of it. And what do you enjoy from the land at this time of year?
Well, pretty much anything that'll come, poking up out of the ground after all that wintry, cold, frozen misery. But really what I want to talk about is the things that occur in spring, and then maybe just point out that they're kind of getting abused. So the big stuff in spring, really, especially in Ontario, are ramps, wild garlic leaves, and fiddleheads.
Okay.
And, they're only around one time of the year. They're not cultivated anyway ever, so they're very special because it's the only time you can get them. But the other bad news that goes along with the fact that you can't get them all year is that there's greedy people that go in. So the thing about fiddleheads is they grow in little groups of 7. And so as long as you leave, you don't take all 7. As long as you leave a couple, that plant will survive till next year.
Self-propagate and
But if you take them all, you've got fiddleheads this year and never again. It's not very smart. Because the thing about foraging and stewarding the land is that you leave so that it's always there when you come back.
That makes sense,
Ramps take, I think it's 7 years to propagate back to the... So you take one out, it'll take 7 years for another one to appear in its place. But if you've ever seen a field of ramps, you're talking about, it can be acres and acres all through a maple forest. And the way they recommend is you take 5% and no more.
That's it, 5%, right.
Yeah, just a little path through them and then leave it, and it'll take 7 years for that path to close in. So if you can see a path someone's been working responsibly and sustainably, it'll have little sort of cuts through it at different angles. You can tell they harvested apart, and then it slowly starts to grow back in. And you do that, and you can get that stuff every year. And if you take it all, you screw everybody.
So how do you, as a restaurateur, guarantee that you're purchasing your ramps or your fiddleheads from a kosher supplier?
I don't know if they're kosher, but
you know what.
But what I try and do is I choose somebody, I talk to them out where they're foraging and how much they take, and then I just stay with them, because this time of year it hasn't started yet. It'll start. Well, it's supposed to be cold again this weekend, but it'll start probably in a couple of weeks. And people will phone and text me, and they'll show up.
I was about to say, do you get people just knocking on your back door?
They just show up with
Really?
And I have to say, no, please don't do this. I have a supplier, and take what you need. If you have someone that you can sell to, sell to them, and then stop. Don't just take a whole bunch and hope for the best.
Do you find there are a whole lot of ne'er-do-wells who think they're going to make a quick buck doing this in the springtime?
There are definitely ne'er-do-wells. The way that I've heard that goes is that they come in from out of province, take a ton, and then get back, take it out, and sell it wherever they are. And because they're from out of province, they're not in any way attached to the land or the people on it, so they take the whole patch. But again, I don't think you have to be from far away to be stupid and rapacious. So it's more about, in actual fact, I don't think there's a lot of criminality around this. It's usually ignorance. I see. So what are your favorite ways to prepare both ramps and fiddleheads at this time of year, or in a couple of weeks when they start arriving on the scene? Oh man, that's a big question. So fiddleheads very often end up being a standalone soup. And that means it may or may not have a broth in it. It could just be a vegetarian dish. Personally, I'd rather just blanch them twice in some really good salted water and just toss them in some fresh butter. The first time I tried fiddleheads was in Canada. Within the first couple of years I was here, and I was ambitious young home cook, and I didn't cook them quite properly enough, and my ex-wife and myself had a very painful and gassy evening, and one that I shall never forget for the rest of my life. They have to be cooked, and people you might have more of a sensitivity to them, and then they end up being in a different veg on a plate, so you'll get one or two in with a whole bunch of other things mixed in. So they're a great shape, and they're a great little color, and they're really interesting. But they're not also something you'd sit down and eat a whole bowl of. They're,
I think
they're a very
that
distinctive
may have
flavor.
been the problem that evening.
Oh, you ate a lot
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah.
And ramps, we pickle the bulbs, and we use the greens and the bulbs through the fresh season. We'll just throw them on a barbecue and then put that on top of, as a garnish on a piece of
Yeah,
fish.
I've seen that before. Yeah.
And I mean, it just sounds like you're just throwing something on, but it's not like throwing a thing of parsley on. Grilled ramps have an incredibly, you can't even explain it. It's
When they're charred like
they're
that, it's
so
gorgeous.
good.
Yeah.
It's almost a seasoning on a fish or a piece of meat. I don't even know how to describe the flavor. I love that flavor best. But I mean, we will do everything with them. We'll end up pureeing them into different pastes, but mostly they are lightly blanched and, one or two. They're strong. They're delicious, but they're strong. So, this is why I like the seasonal items, is that like asparagus.
They're not around for you to get tired of them. They're not around for long enough.
So you use them for like 3 weeks or 2 weeks or even a couple days in everything.
Yeah.
And then you get sick of them, and then you're good that you don't see them again for a year. It's fun. I like eating that way, so that you always feel like even if you don't travel, you're at least having a different diet as you go through a year.
That makes sense. Fantastic. Brad Long, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. Bye for now.